Oh,
Uh-uh. Mrs. Ajoke, I miss you. Ah, no, 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 no,
they
no,
have a single sister, oh, if you don't mind. I'm serious.
no.
You are we are live on YouTube now, so
Oh, sorry, guys.
It's not,
just a disclaimer.
just in case.
Yeah. Okay. Trying to see. Okay. Let me just confirm if it's working. Okay. Okay, wait for like 1 minute, one more minute, then we kick off. Welcome, welcome. Thank you guys for joining. Okay, hello everybody. Hello, how is everyone doing today? You're welcome to the June edition of our monthly webinars client initiative. It's always a very educative, insightful, and always a very great learning session. So this is a very, very special month for us in the environmental and sustainability space. Every 4th of June globally is celebrated or marked as the World Environment Day. So, of which this year was also a very, very important one. And that is one of the reasons why we have the topic, the journey to a greener future. Looking at the definition of sustainability, thinking of whatever we do today, to impact and how it affects the future or coming generations. And, even naturally, we are always conscious and curious about what the future looks like. So today is another very, very important one, and it's going to be a very, very great one like never before. So sit back, relax, enjoy to have a very, very good one. So today we're supposed to have our guests, a person of Adeshola Adegeye, but she will be unavoidably absent. However, I have two of my very, very good friends. So instead of that, we'll be having a panel session today. So we'll be having two of my very, very good friends. They are very great environmental leaders, Munir Adams and Israel Okeyinka. So we'll be having a panel session today, looking at the same topic, journey to a greener future. So I think yeah, Munir is here. I think Israel is also here. Okay, Israel is. I think he just dropped off. So we'll be having a panel session just to like talk, discuss, engage, and just interact. So feel free to ask questions, feel free to like make comments, and yeah, I know definitely it's going to be a very good one. So while we wait for Israel to join back, I know he was here before.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, Israel's here. Oh, okay, awesome. So let me just quickly spotlight Israel and Muniru in 1 minute. I can't see your videos. Okay, make you post. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I'm waiting for your video so that I can spotlight both of you. So thank you, Israel. Thank you, Munir. Thank you for joining despite the very, very short notice because our guest had some emergency and she's unavoidably absent today. So we'd like to start this session off today by asking you can take turns to tell you about yourself, who you are, how you started this journey. Wow, sorry about that. Wow. Some people might have seen the link somewhere. So yeah, so I would like to start by asking Israel to share his story. How did you start? So yeah, let's take it from there. Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Sorry about the interruption. I don't know where the guy came from. Wow.
Okay. Yeah, good evening, everybody. It's nice to be here again with Mr. Ayo and his amazing team and everybody in the audience. I really appreciate this. I see it as a privilege to always share my story, and how I wish this is how we are given the platform to share our impact story. Because I believe when we begin to share our story to the public and to the masses, there's a way storytelling used to cause a ripple effect for transformation change in the heart of many. It's not as if many are not capable of what we are doing, even that they can do better. But they've not had a compelling story that can, inspire them. And I tell you, most of us, we have an inspiring story to tell. And I know you can testify to that. So how do I start? Actually, my name is Okeyinka Israel. I'm an environmentalist, environmental sustainability coach. My area of focus is in sustainable waste management and advocacy. So I will just go into how I got inspired. Each time I see waste in my environment, it's always amazed me in the negative way. I used to feel somehow. Actually, the last time I came on your webinar, I discussed about my little experience during my teenage age, how I got to know about recycling from the Northern guys. They call them scavengers, too. But actually, we're getting closer to them. I noticed that most of them are not scavengers. Some are actually in partnership with certain companies that get those recyclables from them. Because I really worked closely as a teenager with them, and I never knew I was going to come into the environmental sustainability space. We're just doing it for street hustling there, getting out from the home, always wanting to be a young guy that has money in the pocket. So I got to know about metal recycling, plastic recycling, Then I just see trailer coming into our area to pack metals, to pack plastic. I would just talk to the guy, where are this thing going? He said, they are taking it to the company. And he will tell me that if I have maybe metal in my house, I should call him, he will come and pick it up and he's going to give me money. Are you sure? So that's how it all started. That money thing is always something for, a Gen Z then. And I started. My mom used to call me a later. Then, I was even thinking about it this afternoon that I think I can start a company with that name. I will just brand it. I will not say the full name. It was just in my head this afternoon that this thing is actually nice. We can always go into full recycling when the capital comes in. And that was how I got inspired at first about knowing about recycling. But in the long run, my academic journey was, I can't discuss the full package here, but I bagged a degree in environmental science and resources management. So that was where it all started from. So one thing I noticed about environmental science is that it's a wide space and it has so many sections and specialization. You see renewable energy, we talk about a lot of stuff. There is environmental microbiology, environmental chemistry, waste management, biodiversity, conservation, you see ranchers, the different areas. So I just decided that, okay, where can I fit in? I saw that waste management thing. And it came to me because I had the background knowledge of recycling as a young boy. Are you with me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So because of that background knowledge, I've been into this recycling too. Okay, what innovative approach can I apply to this? So 2019, I was in London. My brother was just talking to me. Oga, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? I just, okay, I don't even know yet now. But coming back to Nigeria, I think I can fit into this space. I started searching for NGOs who are working on environment and waste management. So I came across FABE International Foundation online on Instagram. So I reached out to the founder and she got back to me. She was interested in my story. So I volunteered for one of their projects, which I happen to have been a team lead for 3 years now. For the Eco School project, I'm now like a certified coach in sustainable gardening, recycling, upcycling, composting, and other environmental sustainability courses like that. So that was how I started. I started, impacting lives of the younger generation. That's why you see me most times. Most of what you see me do is like I like to talk about the educational part because I believe for us to achieve a greener future, people must know what they are talking about. Education is a bedrock for environmental sustainability. When people are not educated, they can't know what is called environmental sustainability. So that's why I believe so much in the younger generation advocacy, and that's what I do presently. And I'm also the founder of Exosia Repurpose, where we revolutionize the concept of waste management through circular economy principles. Our mission actually is to innovatively repurpose waste materials like plastic, tires into sustainable products of high environmental and functional value. So our vision is to lead way in promoting a circular economy and contribute to a cleaner and more sustainable environment for future generations. So, we see that what we do aligns with the Sustainable Development Goals, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. At least our impact areas align with at least, let's say, 7 to 8 SDGs, SDG 1, 4, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 17. And, through our innovations over for 2 years now, we have been able to repurpose tire waste, most especially tire waste in our local environment, and also mitigate the impact of climate change in our local area here. So I believe with this my little story, I know somebody's in our audience that started working. And what I would just say again is that it is not easy to start. Starting, I had so many discouragements from people because I was in another field entirely before I came into environmental sustainability field. What are you doing there? I'm seeing with plastic, I'm seeing with tire waste. Oga, hope you understand what you're doing. I said, you don't understand because there's future in this thing. And Minoru can testify to this. We've been attending conferences like Wednesday is just about environmental sustainability, climate change, greener economy, climate finance, how we are going to get there. So I know we are in the right space and we'll get there very soon. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for that concise and very informative introduction. So over to you, Munir. Yeah, tell us about yourself, how you started, what inspired you.
Okay, interesting. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So good evening, everyone, and forgive me if there's a bit of noise. It's raining cats and dogs here, so the lights went off, and I'm just trying to use the little light coming in from the window. So, and yeah, just to join the emergency session too. How I started is basically, I think I would always reference a story growing up, and I grew up around industries. So I grew up here in Lagos, and for those who are very familiar with Lagos, there is a place where their names will not be mentioned because they is not paid for ad. One of the biggest milk maker, so the biggest manufacturer of thin milk in Nigeria, and then the biggest manufacturer of malt drinks. I know we all know the two companies I'm talking about. They were just behind us, so they were like neighbors. And growing up, they would always like release some of those chemicals they use for. So there were other industries. So it doesn't look just like it was just them, but it's basically an industrial area, and we had open gutters where these guys would release some chemicals they use. I don't know what. And sometimes it would be air pollution. Sometimes it's the smell of some of the things they are processing. And why I always reference that story is because I believe we don't just end up in whatever we are doing today. There is a trajectory, whether we realize it or not. Something happened in the past to like push to wherever we are. Then a few years later, when I grew up, so I had respiratory issues from that problem, and I was one of the very early adopters of face mask. So when COVID came, I did not have a problem because I was already doing that. But there's another story to even using face masks, because you'll be walking on the street during the very early COVID days in 2020.
Oh, I guess we lost Munir. Yeah, the network is is really bad. Yeah, I guess while we're waiting for him to join back, so I guess we can go to the next question for you, Israel, if you're there. So I know you mentioned a little bit about what your organization, Exousia Repurpose, is currently doing. So, but can you give us a little bit more of insights of what you guys are doing, and the mission, the vision, and other things like that? Munir, are you back? Hello, Munir. Okay, yeah, Israel, you can go ahead to share more about what you do. Hello.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I'm sorry, this network we are struggling with network because of the rain.
Wow.
It's actually raining.
Wow.
So, like I said, okay, let me just recap on the vision and mission of Exousia Repurpose. I will just walk around that. Exousia Repurpose is a social enterprise committed to revolutionizing the concept of waste management through circular economy principles, because we believe so much in that principle of trying to make sure waste materials remain at the value chain for a long period of time before the final disposal. And like people used to say these days, circular economy is different from recycling, which I want to believe. Circular economy starts. It's actually from the thought of your product. The very moment you thought about the product, you have to think about circular economy from that product. It's not about you just able to recycle a material, but does the producer or the manufacturer, have it in mind that this thing must follow the principle of circular economy. So what we do is we have a clear mission to promote proper waste management practices, and our primary focus lies in enhancing the position of waste transformation through repurposing. We do the work of repurposing, which is, we can also say, upcycling. Upcycling is the creative reuse of waste materials into products of high environmental value. I believe some of us know what I'm talking about. It's like a waste tire that is supposed to have been disposed improperly into the canal or into the gutter or burn out for maybe carnival or any public riot, can be repurposed into a tire seat. It can be repurposed into a tire center table, and this is how I pass my environmental message. Everybody has a pointer, a pointer where they used to pass their message. You see people using circular fashion now, using fashion to pass the message of circular economy, how they can, repurpose, waste fabrics, waste or maybe reuse clothes. So that's what we do in Exousia Repurpose. We try to repurpose waste, especially tire waste, into sustainable products. And we are passionate about creating a sustainable future by giving a second life to waste, which eventually reduce the amount of waste that end up in landfills. So the idea is to make sure that the landfill, we use our landfill for agricultural practices. Yes, because I was talking to someone today, yesterday and today again, because I've been having discussion around this food not being in Lagos State, we not planting in Lagos State. Because last year I posted a video online about my engagement in sustainable eco gardening, and a professor reached out to me from United States of America and started sharing me stuff on hydroponic farming, and told me to go and read on hydroponics. I love what I'm doing. That hydroponics will work well in my city. I said, wow, that's nice. And I read the material he sent to me, and I was talking to someone yesterday. We are complaining about land in Lagos. We can also begin to do hydroponics. We don't need the land. So what we do is to make sure that we begin to think circular, we begin to think environmental, we begin to think sustainable. So that is what we also do, to make sure that our landfill is not for waste. I live on the mainland in Lagos State, around inside the largest local government. We have a place called Igodo area. When you pass through that area, it's full of landfills, and landfill beside General Hospital. So I went into the General Hospital one day. The smell was so pungent inside a General Hospital. You can feel the aroma. You can sense it. You will feel uncomfortable inside the General Hospital. Just imagine. And that is why when businesses like us or NGO doing something in like what I'm doing can begin to reduce waste that end up in landfill, you'll see that our land will be used for more useful stuffs in the community, and what we are doing also mitigates environmental pollution. Like I said the other time, our impact area is far-reaching and aligns with several sustainable goals, SDG 1, no poverty, responsible consumption and production, climate action, very, very important. That's one of my impact area, which I love so much. Life below water, we try to make sure that our tire do not end up inside waterways and causing a lot of damages to our marine biodiversity. And life on land too, like I said the other time, quality education. This is one thing we do in Exodia Purpose is advocacy, educational advocacy. We go to secondary schools and primary schools to catch them young and to teach them on environmental sustainability, how they can incorporate. And this is what all these climate education activists are doing now, or advocates are doing now, is to make sure that climate literacy is incorporated into the curriculum of the schools, which is very, very important. We cannot get to that greener future when these things are not in our curriculum from scratch. I hope I'm not taking much time.
Go ahead. No.
Oh, because this is what we need to begin to redig our curriculum now. They need to rig it again and put climate education there. I don't know if anybody can attest to the fact that there's now so many subjects that these children are doing in schools now that we didn't have in our days. I can see civic education, all sorts of stuff like that. In that we did chemistry, we did biology, we did economics, we did geography. It's not like that now. Just walk up to a secondary school student and ask them what they do. So I believe we can still reshuffle that curriculum and make sure they put climate literacy or environmental education there. And that's how we can get to where we are going. So what we actually do is to help reach more communities, foster awareness, and help people to become aware and participate in repurposing and upcycling activities, and also know about climate change. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Israel. Let's go back to Munir. Yeah, I know you had a little bit of network each when you were speaking the other time. So yeah, I'd like you to complete what you were saying about yourself, your story. Then you can tell us a little bit about what you're currently doing in the climate space, on the environmental management space.
Okay. Keep my video off
yeah, that's
this
fine.
time, hopefully, because of it. So in summarizing like my journey here, I'll just say, so those things basically lead to this. At that point, I wasn't really interested, or I did not have that clarity as to what climate action was, what being an environmentalist involved, and all those things. And it was still about a year or so later after the Ogoni documentary, then I started seeing that, oh, there are actually teams and non-profits that you can actually volunteer with to do certain things. So at the time, I was volunteering any and everywhere. But then again, with the more knowledge you get, you properly like align to what is basically I would call closer to your purpose. So I found myself being more fulfilled basically anytime I was going out for a cleanup or something that basically had to do with climate action, whatever it was, as opposed to maybe health or maybe food banks and all those other things. And I figured that this is an area, because even growing up, so in educating myself more, I realized how those influences I experienced as a child were actually caused by some of the things that like climate action advocates basically are trying to address, and it became that close to me. So yeah, and that is how I basically ventured into the space. I started volunteering. I would volunteer almost every single day. Let me not say every single day at the time. Any day I had free time, my free time was always occupied with going for to help one non-profit or the other do stuff. And there is relevance in that, because I do not volunteer as much as I used to anymore, but the experience really helped. So and that was about 16. So I started volunteering since I was about 16. And I started working with a non-profit at the time too. Not when I was 16, of course, but a few years later, one of the non-profits I was volunteering at, and they just said, "Oh, what are you doing right now?" I said, "Oh, I just left school and I'm planning to go back for something else, but I'm not so clear on what the course would be this time or whatever. And they were like, why you ponder on that? Why don't you come like work with us for a while? And I did that. And in doing that, I worked on a project which we used recyclables basically at the time, plastic, nylon, what have you, anything that can be recycled basically to um, take children back to school. And that project was as challenging as it was interesting because there were so many aspects. Because on the surface, you just hear converting plastic to money to send children to school. It's straightforward, right? But trust me, it is not as straightforward as one would imagine. So there was the part of community management. I know it is in recent times that community management has been like very, very popular. But at that particular time, I was not too familiar because that was basically almost my first official job that I'll be doing aside from volunteering gigs. So I did that, and through that, we're able to expand that project from just one school to over 150 before I left, and we're able to reach just something about under 70 children to about 5,000 before I left. So, and trust me, that it's very, like I said again, but it it is a lot of work. There is a lot of community engagement. There is a lot of um, reporting. There is a lot of listening to complaints and satisfying people and working with people who do not like you or think maybe you still have to like because the idea to serve people. So another thing as people who are involved in climate action, especially at the community level, is that we need to recognize that we are not messiahs to these people that we are claiming to maybe help in a sense, but we are there to actually serve the people, similar to what leadership put in the back of our minds. And that way, the thought of, so one of the very main questions that was in my head every day, I would wake up and handle. So that wasn't the only project I handled, but that was like one of the major ones at the time. So every day I woke up, I'll be like, how can we make this thing better for these people? How can we make this thing better for these people? And of course, there were so many amazing people around to actually help with that particular project, of course. So it's not like I was the only one who went to 150 communities and stuff, but definitely there was a team of very amazing people. I was just leading as project manager. So then from there were other series of other things I've done. So in recent times, I led tree planting for one of Nigeria's biggest fintech. That's Flutterwave. One of their, they had their very first sustainability week last year, and I led that for a non-profit called Africa Upcycle Community. So, and there were other led particularly, and more of the things I've been doing personally. So I work with founders a lot, basically, in terms of project design, because one of my biggest worries as a project manager until date is that we are not intentional in naming it. When a fintech is trying to design the best possible thing they can do. But as non-profits, we are just trying to fulfill, not all non-profits, of course. So my comments are not absolute, but then again, to a very large extent, we are basically trying to design to, let's just fulfill this report, let us just fulfill this grant requirement, let us just show that we are doing something. It shouldn't come from a place of we are doing something. It should come from a place of we are doing this thing and we are doing it well. We are going to see it through. So that is basically what I help different founders basically do. And it has been very beautiful because a lot of these founders of some of the biggest like environmental non-profits that we have today in Nigeria, I knew them when they were just starting out, and it's so beautiful to see that trajectory of that growth. So I basically do that on the side, and personally, I work in brand management too. So I carry a bit of that experience in what I do personally, and also for founders too, around our storytelling, around communication, and how we frame communication basically. Because one of the biggest problems climate communication basically is that we are not distilling the knowledge in a way that's relatable, because people are really interested in what they're interested in. That's the honest truth. And you can scream that plastics take 500 years to decay or biodegrade from now till next year, nothing is going to happen unless you are able to connect your messaging with something relatable with that particular audience. You are actually going to just be giving people statistics and data. So personally, I started doing a lot of climate communication, like taking very complex climate terms and seeing how I can break them down and explain them in explainers on social media, basically. And and that led to something else that I did not realize it will lead to, because I've been helping like design courses too, just based off me trying to build a community around people who are not interested. So my content is focused not on people who are already involved in the space, but people who do not care, and they could actually be doing something else better with their time than listening to somebody talk about climate change or whatever. So that is why I try to make the videos as engaging as they can be. There's still a long way to go on that, but yeah, I think one of the results of that is I've been helping design like courses recently in terms of the messaging and how those courses will be communicated, because really we all know we can speak English. It is not about speaking English, but it is about reaching people and really touching people where it matters. So I'll stop there with some of the things I've been doing. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. Very, very great and impactful work that you are also doing. Talking of impact, the next question will be on impact. So talking of the impact of your work, I can read from what you've said, what Israel has said about your impact, about your passion for what you are doing. You really love it, and it shows you can go any length. You can go as far as you want, as just to make a difference in your community. But talking of impact, would you say how would you describe the impact of some of your work, your projects in communities in Lagos and other parts of Nigeria? So tell us about the impacts that you've seen and maybe the impacts that you like to see. Yeah. Any of you can go first. Maybe Israel or Munir.
Yeah.
Israel.
Thank you very much. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Our impacts. Yes, we can do a start on our impact. Like, aside from what I do presently, at least I can let me just give a data of what I've been able to do since 2021. I think I can still, and I have a data matrix I use for myself. 50 times 20, that's 5,000. Yeah. So for 3 years now, I've been able to impact 15,000 students in Lagos and Ogun State. I have a way I do this, because we used to reach out to 20 schools. So I've been able to reach out to like 60 schools, and this 60 schools. So we used to have at least, I know they are more than 15,000, but at least that I have the contact of students in schools, 250 times 60, that's 15,000. So we used to make sure we engage 250 students in each school, train them on upcycling, recycling, composting, and eco gardening. And we've seen a lot of impact, I can tell you. We've seen a lot of impact. So aside the fact of teachers, I've been able to train teachers in Lagos State. Muniru can testify to what I'm saying, because recently we are at the CAF conference, and I trained certain students for one organization, and they were recognized for at the International Climate Change Conference we had, I think, at Intercontinental Hotel, Lagos. And so that's part of what we do, that you don't know where you guys can meet later in the future. And I can tell you, Lagos and Ogun State have been able to train 15,000 students between the first of 3 years. 15,000 students. And they can tell you about what climate change is. They can tell you about what waste management is. They can tell you about what biodiversity is and stuff like that. So I believe we are getting it gradually. But still, I still see that we've not been able to reach out to many, even despite the number that I personally can have for myself. Because even in my local government here in Alimosho, I went to a school recently. I went to my alma mater. my primary school, where I did my primary school, and I was talking, and somebody, one of my friend was a teacher there. So he told the VP that he had a friend to come and just at least do something out of the norms for the students. And I was asking, do you know anything about climate change? And he said, no, it's a private school. Not in the bush, not in the, it's also, you know, we have students, children of elites in the school. They don't know anything about climate change. They don't even know anything about recycling. They just know that people used to pick that bottle from the environment. They don't know where those bottles are going. So, which means that we say, like Muniru is very good in storytelling, and you know, he has a way of telling a story another way, which can catch your attention, which I really appreciate about what he does. So, which means that we still need to do more with what we call awareness and education, which is what we do in advocacy. Our advocacy on environmental education, climate change education, we must do well. We must come together and, okay, are we going to use digital tools? What ways do we need to go for more funding specifically on advocacy? You cannot solve a problem you do not know about. It's not possible. It's just, see, we were at the International Climate Change Conference. I was talking to Adams and some other people that come. Most of the civil servants here today, they don't know what climate change is. But Oga said we should come. And they've collected money. I sat down with some old women. We were just talking about money. They were not listening to the conference. So we need to know that they don't know anything about it. So we need to do more. We need to go into the media space. We need to, you know, to invade the media space, not just social media. Go to TV stations, any media connect to make sure that our look at who noticed about who saw Taoma skits recently about stuff like that. We need more of those contents out there talking about climate change, behavioral change, attitudinal change to the environment. Like what I do for the environment is to raise young climate stewards for environmental sustainability. I did a project with one of my friends in the US last year, December, around the Ikorodu area. We went to the Ikorodu area, and you know, she was one that funded the project. She's doing a PhD in US here, in US there with you. So she just came to me, says she saw what I do around the environment, how I go to school. She got inspired. Wow. She did chemistry, but she got inspired. She has an NGO, but one way or the other, she had to incorporate climate change into the NGO. I read her vision. It was not part, but she got inspired because she saw, wow, this is a big space that we can also impact lives. And also, you know, apart from impacting, is a climate change now. People are making money from climate change. Apart from impact areas, they are making money for climate change. She got inspired and said, Israel, please, I have schools in Ikorodu. I grew up in Ikorodu. I know many teachers in Ikorodu. I can go to them. And, you know, from that connect, I'm a Christian. NASFAT Zona Headquarters called me to Ogun State.
Wow.
I trained like 62 NASFAT regions that day. Wow. I never knew what I was entering into that day. I entered the hall. It was a big, massive hall. What am I going to do here? You should have told me now. I will have, you know, engaged my teams and we come here together. I was just talking on climate change, and I never knew that they called someone to get their materials. They saw my video, because I don't know how you know, people can be so desperate and intentional. Do you know, they studied the video, they bought the materials they saw in the video. I met some of the materials there that we have. We saw your video. They bought boards, they bought foams, they brought bottles and everything. That please come and help us teach our people on this your upcycling thing. I had to, you know, differentiate. I had to teach them in groups that day. I had like 10 groups, and it was very exhausting. So we don't know what we do when we tell our story well. It's very, very important. We need to keep saying this. You might not be in the renewable energy. You know, people think until you get to renewable energy before you get the money and you are doing big for climate change. No, even the waste management, even the climate communication is something. Imparting someone with the right information is something. In short, is the best thing you can ever give to anybody. Information, the right information. The right information in the right hands is power, and it will yield you positive results. So very, very important. So I believe we need to do more of storytelling, more of advocacy to get our message passed across to the public.
Mm.
Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for those points. Impacting people with the right information, storytelling, and advocacy. Yeah. Very, very, very important points to do our job effectively. Over to Munir. What would you say about your impact since you started? I know you are a very, very amazing serial volunteer. Yeah, I actually got to know Munir as a very wonderful person that volunteers, comes through for projects. So yeah, so far so excellent. What would you say about your impact since you started in this space?
There are some people that will speak all those kind of people that you'll be put in the conference and all you have to say is, oh, he has said it all. But really,
I know, right?
I try to. So I'm also doing a clean air advocacy with on Urban Better, and I'm tying it's something that Israel said, because he threw a lot of numbers, and people, we do not like really put contextualize numbers enough, because we just say, oh, 15,000, oh, wonderful, then we pass. But what does that 15,000 really represent? In breaking it down, that is one child that has access to, maybe his father is a councillor, or his father is a voter, or his father is a party member, or whatever. And they would always bring it at home, because that is something that children do. They get home and they start practicing some of these things they learned. And why that is essential is because for us to really make any meaningful change, like in terms of climate action, we cannot exempt government. That is the truth. All the non-profits combined together, working on a project, we cannot resolve these problems permanently. So government is essential. And when we have more people informed, it means we have more people talking about the issue, and it means the issue is being repeated in the ears of those political representatives, or whoever is going to go into political representation. Because as it stands today, locally, climate change is not on the list of public concern, basically, when it comes to governance and campaigning. But you can see that in a lot of European states, it's like tops the agenda, where climate change has like a very strong, basically like awareness in terms of their politicians being involved in those things, even if they are lying, but they are actually talking about this thing. So that is the point that we need to get to. And that is why the work that people like Israel is basically doing is like very, very essential, reaching those children and giving them those practical skills so that they get home and they show their parents, oh, this is what we did with this. Oh, slowly, because you build into things. It doesn't just happen. As much as we want all the fantastic methods, maybe go green just today, and that is what we should actually work towards, because the world is actually not doing even close to enough. But then we also need to hold on to the virtue of actually building and with patience, building with with a lot of patience, basically, for the next generation, so that we are not in a rush, basically, while forgetting the next generation basically behind. So that is that with regards to the data. Those are people's children, those are people's nieces, those are people's cousins that Israel has actually taught. And I do not really have so much of my numbers like right now on a sheet of paper, but what I would say is basically like how I judge impacts for me is seeing one person say, oh, I saw your video, and ever since I saw it, oh, maybe I'm more responsible with my waste. And I've been getting a lot of that recently. Or you go to a community and you ask them, oh, what do you think? Because I encourage non-profit leaders to actually do that a lot, your pictures of your project and leave. You need to actually ask for feedback, like between before we got here and now that we are here, do you think there is any meaningful change, and what do you think we can be an add-on? So things like that, hearing people share how they've been able to use certain skills, like in terms of recycling, to actually maybe send their children to school, maybe feed their family, maybe even set up a petty trade from the money they got from exchanging some of these plastics. Because some of these communities you go to, they are basically living on waste, which was the very first community the schools for plastic actually started in. And then my audience, basically most of my audience, because I grew my social media pages not based on like not niching down into like climate action, but I used to do a lot of running, so I'll be posting random stuff. And so I have a lot of random people, like people in tech, people in arts, people in different spaces. And that is why my message is basically centered towards them. So to get those people who are not already taking action to do stuff. And then when I have a lot of these people, both the ones I know and from a distance, say, oh, because I heard you say ABCD, I stopped like throwing stuff outside. And the very funny thing is, this thing has become a culture, and breaking culture is very difficult. And that is why communication is important, and that is why doing projects intentionally, we cannot exempt those two things. Do projects with the end in mind, basically. What are you trying to achieve? If you do it in one community, by all means, stick by that one community and scale to a particular point before you move to a different community, basically. So yesterday on my way home from work, I was standing and we had some officers of the task force trying to arrest people like passing one way on the other side of this very large express. And they all they bought gala from the other end of the road, they bought bottled water and stuff. And what happened? They all threw it on the floor. And why I mentioned this story is because tomorrow, when the government wants to enforce laws about people littering the streets, these are the same people who are not already making it a part of their culture. So it's more like the government will wake up tomorrow and just say, oh yeah, throwing of plastics on the floor is now banned. We'll be arresting you. Then that is when they will now start claiming that, what's it called, that you should actually do this thing. But then if we have those things in place now, which means once they eat those things, they're exemplary. They put it in a bin in their patrol vehicle. Hopefully there is a bin. I'm not sure there's ever a bin in their vehicles, but hopefully there is a bin and they put it there. So that when they see motorists doing that, they can advise them. Because culture takes a long time to actually break. They can advise them that, oh, Oga, please do this thing the right way. Please do this thing this way. And this is what I'll end with. There was also a time that one of the agencies of government also put up signs. So we just woke up one day and we saw signs, do not litter. Very beautiful signs, no doubt. The copies were fantastic. They were really good and they were on point. But the problem is there was no citizen engagement. We just saw signs without meaning. For me, I knew what it meant, basically. But then you always need to back those type of things because they were really good. I really love that campaign that they did for a few months. But now all the signs have been, I think, stolen by miscreants or taken down. I don't know what happened to the signs. But the point is, there needs to be that. So this just shows you basically that there is a lack of intentionality in the project. Which reminds me, I knew I said that was the last point. But there was a few years ago when we had this governor in Lagos who was very interested in like tree planting, cleanliness of the environment. Loma actually set up certain yellow bins in specific areas. So we're staying in Ikeja at the time, and I don't know if it was everywhere in Lagos, but I can speak for Ikeja. It was everywhere from Ikeja to Ogba and to places around there. And suddenly, a few weeks down the line, those bins started going missing. What happened to them? Of course, they were stolen. But then we have us leading projects in communities where we place metal bins, and 3 years down the line, 4 years down the line, you would still find those bins in that community. And we did nothing fantastic. We did not hire the DSS to protect our bins. We can't afford it. But what we did was basically the simplest of things, which was engagement. Before we brought those bins, we engaged the people. We made sure that it was their own project. So they owned this thing and they saw the value in that particular bin being there and why it is essential for them to keep it safe. So, and that is like why certain projects basically of government fail to actually meet impact numbers. And in terms of impact, to streamline it back to me, if there is one thing I try my possible best to do is to make sure that whatever project you are trying to do is not just like waking up tomorrow and putting up a sign. Yes, it is a very good thing. You are solving a problem, but then 2 weeks down the line, that's the end. People are not connecting to that particular solution. So going back to the community level, I try as much as possible. Every project I'm involved with, we connect to the people, make it be their own because it is actually their own, and then design sustainability plan that heavily involves the people, like managing those things while we actually supervise. So yeah.
Wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I've put down quite a lot of points from Israel and Muniru's storytelling, from Israel storytelling and advocacy, very, very important, impacting people with the right information. And Muniru talked about government, asking for feedback, and most importantly, citizen engagement. That is like the cornerstone. So because of time, Muniru and Israel, I'd like us to look into the topic that we have before us today, which is to journey to a green future. So taking Nigeria as as our homeland, our home country, would you say we are currently headed to a green future, to be very, very realistic? And if yes, so what are we doing? What are we doing right? But if no, what do we need to do to end to a green future? I know there's the Sustainable Development Goals, which is supposed to be have been achieved by 2030, like the SDGs 2030, and this is 2024, 6 more years to go. I know the SDGs encapsulates quite a lot of things, not only environmental, but like looking at the environmental side of things and bringing it home to Nigeria. Would you say we are really headed to a green future or headed to a red future? Green or red? So which of them? So, and what do we need to do for the sake of people here for us to start taking action? Yeah.
No, thank you very much, AY. Now, Nigeria it saddens my heart to tell you that we know a lot, but we tend not to do a lot. Let me tell you something. Nigeria is doing a lot. It's doing a lot in different space, in certain areas. But when it comes to climate change, it's not as if they don't know this, number one, and transitioning into a green economy or a green future. I'm always online, LinkedIn, Instagram. I check so many, government officials attending so many conferences in outside the country. But I don't see what is happening. Why are we not hearing the feedback of these things? Yes, I tell you, they are inside so many rooms. There are many research organizations in Nigeria under government that they are always, you see them in plastic treaty, you see them in this transition, renewable transition energy, a lot of stuff like that. I see them, I tell you. And I know some of these people online. But that boils down to, why are they not giving us feedback of these informations? Muniru, I don't know if Muniru can just pick points. When we had that international climate change conference, when one man was talking about securing 50 million euro from GCF, Green, I think it's Green Climate Fund. I was asking myself, where is this 50 million euro? Do you know what 50 million euro is in Nigerian currency? That's a lot of money. Who are the people accessing the fund? That is what we need to come in. See, there are a lot of political shenanigans around this. And until we begin to, like Muniru said, we need to get closer to the government one way or the other. Either by acting as a fool, or you should just make sure you get closer to government to get started. They have information we do not have. I can tell you categorically. Government have the information we don't have. They are very close to the UN. They are very close to the European Union. They are very close to the Paris people. A lot of, they have the information we need to access the information we need. I will just conclude in that first point, that we need to get close to the government. Very, very important, because a lot of things are happening now. Thank God, I don't know, maybe it's God that just make this webinar to be like this, or Muniru Adams and I, because we've been having on last week, somebody approached us that, what are you guys discussing? since we were discussing almost like 45 minutes, 1 hour in a position talking about what we
Wow.
can do, how we
Wow.
can be involved.
Wow.
Some of his friends have to come and meet us. What are you guys saying since morning? Because this is it. Because we are hearing, you will hear figures. When you hear figures about the funding, they are funding underdeveloped countries or developing countries to transition into the green economy, you will be amazed that where this funding going into? And thank God for the SA for circular, the SA to the governor of Lagos State for circular economy. At least we still know her. I don't know her in person, but we know her work. They are trying to secure funding for circular businesses to make sure they establish green economy in Lagos State, and it should transit to Nigeria at large, because Lagos State is like a model for other states in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So, and that's why there's a webinar tomorrow now, from that office of the special advisor to the governor on circular economy issues, on how we can get opportunities, funding for circular businesses. You understand? So if we do not get closer to these people, we will not get this information. We will not get this information. So we first need to know where the right informations are. Yes, we can do all the impact today, we are very impactful. We are having issues for financing and funding. And that is where. So if we really want to go into the greener future we are talking about, or establish a greener economy in Nigeria, we need to access the right funding. We need to have the information for the right funding. And how are we going to get both the internal funding and the external funding? So that's my first take before any other question comes in again.
Yeah, thank you, Mo. That's that was very deep. Yeah, I like the way you hit the nail on the head. Like you just went very, very straight to the point. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Israel. Yeah, over to you, Muniru. What's your take?
Okay, so I'll quickly just speak on perspective and action in that regard. And just going by what Israel said, we are doing a lot of talk. We are hosting a lot of conferences. We are doing a lot, but yet we are doing so little. And it goes back to even perspective, like I said, in terms of funding. So as he rightly referenced, we need to find a way of galvanizing people to actually engage government. There was a former African president during the year of coup, I think that was 2023, where they were just ousting African leaders across West Africa and the likes. And one of them came on video and said, make noise, make noise, make noise. So if it's by making noise, like make that noise that you need to do, regardless of how, like he said, get close to government. And government has this very fantastic excuse that they will tell you that, oh, we've signed the climate change bill or act into law. Oh, we have a committee. We set up a presidential task force. We know you've done these things, but what have you actually done? At the same international, at the conference that Israel was referencing, one of the presidential envoy on climate change, I've forgotten her full position. She was on the impact made. Trust me, Midi, there was no space for questioning, because I love engaging those people on that level. There was no impact. It was just, oh, we've set up a committee, we've set up this membership, we've done this research, but where is the action? That is where the problem is. And you see, it is very difficult to have conversations about climate change in a very diverse country like Nigeria. And why is it diverse? It's diverse because when you carry the conversation around flooding, and you say, oh, this is the message, we need to make laws about flooding, and then you want to engage, maybe you are canvassing for votes, or you are trying to lobby senators or whatever to pass certain votes. You need to be aware that the northern reality is not always flooding as regular as Lagos experiences it. So there's this perspective divide, whereby when you are speaking to climate change and you are speaking from one angle, you need to always recognize that, what is my audience? Where is this audience from? If they are from northern Nigeria, what they would relate to most often is desertification. So our messaging needs to be very careful. If you are in southern Nigeria, connected to maybe the heat waves, we are connected to the flooding and some of these other issues. So that perspective is very essential even as we engage government, so that we are not engaging them and they are saying that, oh, this is actually not a problem now. And it is not just, it doesn't end with desertification. You tell them why desertification is a real problem. It is not a problem because the science says so. It is a problem because it affects real people in certain ways, which I can't really go into because of time again. But we all know, basically, the point is, try to expand further. Always go beyond, oh, there's desertification, plastic takes 500 years. It is meaningless to people unless you can connect it to, oh, when Lake Chad shrank, for example, there were a lot of farmers around the lake, there were a lot of businesses around it, because the lake was bordering about 4 countries. That's Nigeria, Niger, Chad, and Cameroon. And there were so many businesses there. The businesses had to die because the lake shrunk. And then farmers, herders who were rearing their cattle had to start moving down south towards the middle belt for vegetation. And what happened? They got into farms, destroyed farm crops, farmers retaliated, became a farmer herder clashes, what has turned into terrorism today. Always need to give context. If it's about plastic, don't just end with plastics are bad, throwing it into, well, yes, good, it will block the drainage. That's fantastic. It will get into your homes. That's fantastic. And this is what it will do. The whole basic point is, when you understand the audience you're trying to communicate to, like, you should frame that message around them. So there is also this Great Green Wall project that countries along the Sahel, it's like, it's cutting across multiple countries in Africa. They are trying to do a restoration project basically by planting trees. But then, like Israel said, where is the information? What is happening? Where can we get real-time info about what's happening with some of these projects, right? Like how much funding has been there? Because we need to keep people accountable. It is not just enough. And we are not really doing anything. We are busy building more refineries. We are not trying, because we have a very good opportunity. And one other excuse government gives, which we should not excuse them, is the fact that Africa as a whole, our carbon emissions is about 4% or even less than. It's about 3.9 something, or roughly 4% basically. And they use that excuse that, oh, 96% is being produced elsewhere. So we are not the problem. We are not as industrialized as the other side of the world. Fine and wonderful. We understand we are not as industrialized as them. But that then gives us an advantage, because, you know, a lot of these monies that are being paid, some of this climate financing coming as loans, which should not be so, because you are paying for repairing the damage that you've done over the years. So even for our representatives, for those of us close to our representatives, in trying to draw this financing, there is a point where you do not go to the Western states as if you are begging them. No, you're not doing them a favor. Everybody is involved in this thing. You approach it from, you are paying to fix the planet. We are not coming to borrow money, because that means they are benefiting off climate financing, basically, which should not be so, because loans have interest. They have certain things countries are supposed to do to access them. So that is one of the things. And even on the part of accountability, our government loves screaming finance. As a funder today, I'll be honest with you, Mide, I would not fund the Nigerian government's climate initiatives. I would not do it, because there is that very deep lack of trust. I am not sure gets to the people it should go. So as government, it is not to see this as an attack. It is to see this as a challenge that, oh, they said we are not transparent. They've said we are not accountable. Let us show them. Let us set up systems. We already have people like budgets, people like Follow the Money doing a lot of work. Why don't we collaborate with the private sector to keep climate financing, like drive that accountability, so that when a foreign funder, or when basically any general funder sees that, oh, this country has shown, trust me, and this also goes down to the non-profit level. Even as a non-profit, if you are not transparent and you are trying to, maybe you would be lucky to see 1 or 2 or a series of funding. But for you to have that sustained funding, there are accountability measures to your financing that you need, and transparency measures that you need to put in place. And so it's not just about a government thing. So, but because it is like government collective action, that is why I'm referencing to government. So there is that accountability that needs to be in place to like draw in the financing we need, and also get the financing too, because there are so many people doing amazing work, people we've never heard of, and this financing needs to get to them for them to scale. And it is not just for it to get to them. We need to hold people and make sure they deliver on quality. Government needs to always insist on quality from its people. You give a contractor a job, you give a tree a biodiversity restoration project. Make sure that whoever the non-profits is that are involved, it is not free money. Make them see that. Use, I don't know, you have DSS, you have the EFCC. Tell them these people are going to scrutinize you. You have the KPMGs and the big boys, the big fours in finance that can actually verify some of the facts and figures and what non-profits are actually working in. So that government needs to really show, and that is what I do not see. I see a lot of talk. Yes, I see a lot of conferences. I see a lot of presidential envoys. Fantastic. We did not have these things before, and it is good that we have them now, which means when we want to take action, we are not discussing, oh, we've not passed the Climate Action Act. Oh, we don't have a presidential envoy. Oh, we don't have an office of circular economy. We are not discussing those things. It is fantastic. It is good and it's commendable. But at the same time, it is not enough. There is too much talk and too little action. I rest.
Wow. Thank you so much. This has been a very, very loaded session. Yeah, this was not what we actually planned, but like I said earlier, our guest speaker is unavoidably absent today due to some circumstances. So, but this has been very, very. I've been writing so many things. I've been jotting so many things down. Thank you so much, Israel and Munir. I'll open the floor now for questions because of time. We can keep going on and on. Yeah, but we just have to pause for today. Then if you have like further question or if there's need for further engagement, you can reach out to Israel or Munir. But I want to open the floor for like 1 or 2 questions or maybe 3, depending on our time. If anyone has questions or comments for Israel or Munir before we wrap it up, we'll call it a day. Yeah, any questions or comments before we close? Okay, so I think I would like to ask Israel or Munir, so what would you give us as participants of today? What would you give us as a takeaway action or a call to action for us to do? This month is like World Environment Month. Let me put it like that, because every 4th of June is World Environment Day and we commemorate that. Looking at the next year, before World Environment Day 2025, what would you give us? What would you assign us? Or what would you say would be a call to action or a takeaway point for everyone on this call to start doing? Yeah, takeaway point or call to action from today's webinar as we close.
Okay, do you want us to talk?
Yes.
Okay. One thing I believe in is reformation. Yeah, people talk about revolution, reformation. There are 2 different things, but they have a similar drive, which is networking of the right minds. We need to begin to recognize ourselves. Look at AY now, knowing me, knowing Adeshola, knowing me, and knowing certain people in the audience that I don't really know, but I think I can still pinpoint 1 or 2. So we need to begin to network. Intentional networking is what we need. We are talking about getting closer to the government. We need to go in mass when they know that they know what they are doing. That's something I've come to know something about them. When they see you in a unified form, to reject us will be difficult for them. So we need to recognize ourselves, know our expertise, know our capacity. I'm into advocacy. I'm into sustainable waste management. One is into renewable energy. The other one is communications. One is a entertainer. A lot of stuff that we need to begin to network ourselves intentionally and begin to drive a change. Because to actually achieve what we need collective action to create a ripple effect for a transformative change. And we need to embrace this challenge before us with determination, innovation, and a shared purpose. Very, very important. A shared purpose will lead us to the right destination. Because if we don't have a shared purpose, we do not share the same purpose, we might not get there. But when we have a shared purpose, innovation give room for different innovations. What I can do, what he can do, what she can do, and we can be able to make it into a bankable and impactful project. We'll be able to access the funding we need, access the visibility we need out there. Sharon posted something yesterday online. Yes, which she said there's someone was in a conference and they had to squeeze the youth time to 30 minutes, and before you know, they squeezed it to 3 minutes. I read that. I have to screenshot it. It was imagine. It shows that they do not recognize. We are like a pawn in a chess game. You understand? We need to be very intentional about our movement, not just I can do my thing, she can do her thing. Let's come together and become a collective force to drive a change. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Yeah. Munir, any closing words or takeaway points?
I don't do well with last personal messages. I think Israel has said it all. But then just to support one of his points is to say there is something that Hamzat Lawal, when I was in a class a few years ago when he was discussing like non-profit management and all that. And one primary thing he said was power only listens to power. So, and like Israel already explained that particular part. And so if there is one other thing, like he said, network with people, not just within the space, but outside the space, because you need everybody in, and you'll be a very, very powerful advocate. They are not your enemies as much as certain actions that some of them, maybe government officials or people who are not aligned to like climate action take is very annoying. They are not your enemies, they are allies, and you should know what kind of allies they are. So as much as you fight them, you should also draw them close, because at the end of the day, we need everybody involved to actually work both vertically, horizontally, spontaneously with people everywhere, because you need every single person. You don't know the funder you might get to do your project might not necessarily come from the space, because even people from the space are seeking funding outside. So you need that diversity of like network strength to actually make your advocacy and make projects actually meaningful. And if there's one thing I always answer this last final questions with that does not fail me, is that if you do nothing at all, from now to the next World Environment Day, if you do nothing, absolutely nothing at all, just keep joining communities like Clan Initiative that always speak to environments. Like, just keep joining communities, keep listening to the conversations. You don't have to say anything, but just by being there, by being in a space like this, by default, subconsciously, you'd find yourself like aligning to the right things. So it's wonderful doing this with Thank You Mide and my Oga at the top, Israel.
Wow. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it, despite the very short notice. I mean, I've not received a shorter notice like what I gave Munir and Israel this afternoon, and they came through excellently. Thank you so much. Like, this made my week. Thank you so much for showing up despite the very short notice. I'm so grateful. Yeah, and I mean it from the depths of my heart. Thank you, Munir. Thank you, Israel. Yeah, God bless you guys. Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Hawa. Thank you, Melda. That's my younger sister. Thank you, Sheon. Thank you, Alainka. Thank you, Tokwe. Thank you so much. So right now we'll wrap up for the June edition of our monthly webinar. I hope you learned one thing or the other, and you are inspired. You've been challenged. Yeah, you've been energized, to go out there to make a difference. So yeah, watch out for the next one. And I have a lot of ideas and thoughts from Munir, from the conversation with Munir and Israel. And yeah, watch out for the result and the outcomes of some of today's conversation. Thank you all. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and wonderful rest of the month of June. Till next month, yeah, enjoy and live sustainably. Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Mide.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, and then thank you, Munir Adams. I didn't know you before now, but I've been seeing your posts on Twitter And
Oh,
then I have some friends that share your tweets on
wow.
WhatsApp status.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that means people are beginning to hear his voice too,
Oh,
and all
yeah,
of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So let's just keep doing our bits.
Yeah, yeah,
All
absolutely.
right. Thanks. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Easy. Yeah.